in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, you could call it breaking news. An announced 10-day ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon. Of course, Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed terror group, has been active there for decades, hassling Israel all along and having a big role in that October 7th. But now a ceasefire. We got ceasefires all over the place. I love it. We're in the middle of the ceasefire between Iran and the United States and Israel. We got another one between Lebanon and Israel, Hezbollah. That's fantastic. Peace is breaking out all over. This thing is coming together. I get people, they're so upset about the polls. You know what? I'm not. You know, we've become the most negative country in so many ways. Negative people. Our culture is so negative. Everything's terrible. Nothing's good enough. We're all just scrolling, looking for the next thing, the next thing. Right? Take a look around. Amazing things are happening. Let's see. President Trump on Truth Social. He just issued a major statement, and I shall read it right now. I just had an excellent conversation with the highly respected President Joseph Aoun of Lebanon and Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel. These two leaders have agreed that in order to achieve peace between their countries, they will formally begin a 10-day ceasefire at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Tuesday, the two countries met for the first time in 34 years here in Washington, D.C., with our great Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I have directed Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Rubio, together with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Raising Cane, to work with Israel and Lebanon to achieve a lasting peace. It has been my honor to solve 9 wars across the world, and this will be my 10th. So let's get it done. President Donald J. Trump. Well, how about that? Well, how do you spin that one negatively? Fake news? Huh? This is good. This is great. And everything seems to be coming together. Iran is not taking pot shots at the blockade. They could. They definitely could. I was personally very afraid of that happening. More than pot shots, I was desperately afraid of a ship being sunk. That doesn't look like it's happening. That doesn't seem to be in the cards. This stuff is holding. It's glorious. We're not there yet. We can't totally party, but we have a little bit of breathing room. I didn't realize that Lebanon and Israel hadn't spoken formally in 34 years. What was 34 years ago? 1992. George H.W. Bush was in office. Hey, listen to this. Tulsi Gabbard wants charges over the Trump 2019 impeachment. And that is what is called for. People should go to jail. You know, I wonder what, the statute of limitations. I bet there's no limit on treason. I bet there's no statute of limitations on treason because what they did was treasonous. The 2019 phone call between President Trump and Zelensky was routine matter of business. And if you don't think it's routine, well, he was talking about getting dirt on one of his opponents. Well, just because you're an opponent of President Trump doesn't give you diplomatic immunity, doesn't put you in some sort of, special non-prosecutable position. Look at what they did to President Trump, right? They arrested him. They said they were going to do it, and they did it. He got impeached for asking a question about Hunter Biden and Burisma. That's how corrupt the system was, and that's how massive the plot was. The media, the FBI, Democrats, the intelligence community, the swamp, in other words. And there was no kind of breathing room for the truth. It's a very interesting moment. Pete Hegseth, for all of his complaints about the fake news, and they're valid. They're totally valid. Have you noticed the conversation right now is really about issues of war and peace? And those are real issues, and people have real disagreements about it. And I'm not saying that Trump derangement syndrome isn't a real thing, but we don't have anybody debating fake impeachments anymore. We don't have a Russia collusion hoax hanging over our heads. This is real stuff that is being pursued. And that's like a major step forward. That's what it feels like when you control the House and when you control the Senate and when you control the White House, I guess. Now, this could change if Democrats take over and they start impeaching everybody left and right. But I don't know. It just feels good. It feels healthy, even with all of the nonsense that is being said. If you don't mind, this is the dopiest governor in the world, Kathy Hochul, and we have an emergency. She must be beaten. Cut 13, please. Cut 13.
Right now we have, young black kids growing up in the Bronx who don't even know what the word a computer is. They don't know. They don't know these things.
They don't know these things. How racist can you be? President Biden, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. The most overtly racist people in the world, yet they're the party of color. People of color. They're the ones who have had a corner on blacks in America for how many decades? Well, that has changed. It's another reason why they were so desperate to stop Trump. Right now, he seems to me almost unstoppable, if you will. Unstoppable. That's the era we're in right now. If you don't mind, Caroline Leavitt laid out some very important things for us to consider as press secretary. I am also going to say one more time, Eric Swalwell is not a serial killer. They're treating him like he's some sort of serial killer. There's a special hotline now. If you know anything that he did, call us. Call us. This happened in 2 days. That doesn't seem right to me. It didn't seem right when they did it to my friends. It doesn't seem right when they do it to my enemies. And I want to point out one more thing here. How light these accusations actually are. They're either very light or very, very old. And if I'm going to, quite frankly, discern the truth when it comes to these prosecutions of my friends, I'm going to do the same thing when it comes to the prosecutions of my enemies. Cut 11, please. Cut 10, please. Cut 10.
2 members of Congress have resigned after separate allegations of sexual misconduct. Texas Republican Tony Gonzalez has admitted to a relationship with a former aide. But California Democrat Eric Swalwell has denied everything but what he calls mistakes in judgment. Our Nancy Cordes spoke with 2 of his accusers.
The reception that we've gotten has been amazing.
Annika Albrecht says she never expected one social media video might lead to this. Eric Swalwell dropping his bid for governor and resigning from Congress, all in the span of 48 hours.
I'm terrified to speak out, which is why it's taken me so long.
She's got a big smile on her face. Big smile. Big smile. Terrified. What did you think was going to happen? You know what she accuses Eric Swalwell of? Well, I'll play it for you. Next cut, if you don't mind.
Thought you'd get blacklisted from Democratic jobs.
Absolutely.
Albrecht met Swalwell on a college trip to D.C. 7 years ago. She claims his offers to mentor her quickly turned suggestive.
He invited me to a hotel to meet him. It was very clear what the connotation was.
Ali Samarco claims Swalwell sent her similar messages and a lewd photo 5 years ago.
Why do you think someone so ambitious would do something this reckless repeatedly?
He thought he was untouchable. He acted with total impunity. He never thought that the consequences of his actions would follow him.
The two had never met until 2 weeks ago when Albrecht urged her close friend Cheyenne Hunt, a Democratic social media creator, to post a video about Swalwell.
You know Eric Swalwell has slept with many of his interns.
It triggered a wave of messages.
One of the first ones who reached out to me disclosed to me that it was a full-on assault.
All right, so I know it sounds really serious, right? The way it's the energy of it, the cadence, the way the reporter's speaking, and why would he do such a thing if he's so ambitious and he thought he could get away with it? I just have to rehash what he has just been accused of because you probably heard something incredibly different. Suggestive texts sent 5 years ago. Suggestive text sent 5 years. No, I correct. Yeah, suggestive text sent 5 years ago and a lewd photo 5 years ago. Now, Okay. Do we set up a hotline for that guy? Do we set up a 800 number with the FBI manning the phone? Does that sound right? What about the other girl? 7 years ago, suggestive texts and an invitation to meet him at a hotel. The connotation being something she didn't actually say. So one girl got presumably a dick pic, I think they call them. And the other one got no dick pic, but an invitation to a hotel bar, hotel lobby, hotel room. We don't know. By the end of the piece, we find out she didn't go to the hotel, but she's so grateful she didn't go to the hotel because, oh my God, something could have happened to her. The other girl we just heard there, never met him, never really interacted with him, but heard from somebody else that she met on the internet. This stranger says that she was assaulted by Swalwell. What you got there is, did you guys read To Kill a Mockingbird? Neither did I, but I got the gist of it from, you know what turned me off to that book? On the first page, they use the word assuage, ASSUAGE. Now, I know what it means now, but it was just like, this is a pretentious book. It was a pretentious book. It's a little bit overrated, right? But everybody was convinced that the poor black man was the rapist. And they showed up at his house. Actually, they showed up at the lawyer's house. How dare you defend this rapist? We know he's the rapist. Well, it turns out he wasn't the rapist. That's the whole thing. To Kill a Mockingbird is an American classic, right? And then the mob shows up. And then the little girl there, what was her name? The lawyer was Atticus Finch. Her name was like Pinch or something like that. She had some sort of tomboyish nickname. And she starts singling out people in the mob. Hey, how's your entailment coming? What's the matter with your entailment? He was entailed in some legal issues, and her father, the nicest guy in town, the lawyer, also the bravest guy in town, Gregory Peck, right, was there for him when he needed him, and at this moment he joins the mob. Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird. That's all about basically fake accusations against a rapist, and then the truth gets out, he didn't do it, and it's just an amazing story. That's an American story, I'm told. Harper Lee, the late, great weirdo Harper Lee. She was a bit of a weird chick. She lived, I don't know what the hell the living arrangements were. She lived with her roommate, to the age of 90 and just strange. But that book made her a fortune. And then she came out with another one, Go Set a Watchman. Go Set a Watchman. Even that title is pretentious. What the hell does that mean, Go Set a Watchman? To Kill a Mockingbird. It was just very pretentious. But, hey, it made her a lot of money, and she was able to live reclusively and exclusively, and, hey, good for her. Good for her. 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. How about that ex-lieutenant governor of Virginia? He killed himself and his wife while his teenage kids were in the house. Don't ever do it. Give me a call if you're ever down in the dumps that much. Come on, man. He was involved in a messy divorce. Show me a divorce that's not messy, all right? One other thing, I saw a lot of people taking umbrage with President Trump and his AI post. You ever hear of David Harris Jr.? He's an all-around great guy, content creator, conservative, happens to be black. Why do I mention that? I don't know. But I want you to hear what he said about the AI message, okay? Could you play that for me? David Harris Jr., go.
And now we have the backstory that makes it all make sense. I wonder how every single person that jumped to conclusions thinking that President Trump was trying to depict himself as the Messiah feels now. So Nick Adams is actually the one that created the picture of President Trump laying his hands on the guy in the hospital bed, basically. He posted the original image in February 4th. Everybody loved it. His description was, President Trump is healing America. Nobody had a problem with it. Somebody took the image, adjusted the military people in the sky to make it look a little bit more like they're angels or something. All they did. That's who Trump's team posted, probably with the same understanding that this image is Trump healing America, which everybody's prayed for and believe that that's exactly what he's doing. Most Christians and people of faith support President Trump because he's got the White House Office of Faith right next to the Oval Office. He's done more for religious liberties than any past president that I know of. They still want to attack him. People just didn't wait. Why is everybody so quick to jump to conclusions and throw stones at a man that's literally trying to defend and save this country? And I firmly believe God chose him to do it. God selected him to do it. And God wasn't tripping when he saw that image. Were you?
What is that last part? God wanted a what? Anyway, the image is beautiful and it works. And he was right. And David Harris Jr., everybody, follow him on social. He's a cool dude, and he's a friend of mine. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I like to say I'm open-minded on pretty much everything, except I'm pretty damn sure we've been to the moon, and I'm pretty damn sure the Artemis people actually circled the moon. However, I will concede that one of the astronauts gave the weirdest speech the other day, and the internet is going wild. Real quick, Jerry in South Carolina, hello.
How you doing, Greg?
Good.
I wanted to ask you, man. I mean, you're one of the only guys I listen to these days anymore. With the rugs and the prayer mats over there at 9/11 Central, where's the separation of church and state these days, man? I hear that every time we talk about Jesus. But these guys are laying their rugs down on 9/11 platform. What happened to the separation of church and state?
Well, interesting. Look, I'll say it out loud, Jerry, and I hope you're on our side. I think you are, but I am a little bit uncomfortable with the Islamification of America, which seems to be happening, and I think it has to be addressed, right? We have freedom of religion to be sure, but I don't know. There's something happening. Also, the separation of church and state has been vastly overstated, in part because Kennedy said that. That's not even in the Constitution. That's an excuse to throw Jesus out of the public square, which can't happen, right? So it's interesting. It's complicated. Jerry, thank you. The music is there, but you're onto something, of course.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, if you really listen hard, you'll be able to figure out that James Brown is talking about the virtues and benefits of being the boss. You know, when I was growing up, for a while when I was in high school, my career goal was to be the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of a major company. I just thought that'd be really, really cool. The ultimate achievement, really, in American capitalism in a way, right? When you think about it. There was a guy, a neighbor, actually, who was a CEO, and I became fascinated with him. But you had to do all this business stuff and all these courses that I wasn't particularly interested in, so there went that dream. Jay Jackson, living the dream. He is the chairman and CEO of Abacus Global Management. Abacus Global Management is reshaping financial planning around the most personal data point, your lifespan. It's amazing. It's an amazing concept. It's amazing practice. I am here with Jay Jackson, chairman and CEO of Abacus Global Management. Congratulations on being the boss. How are you, Jay?
I am awesome. Thank you, Greg. And you know, being the boss isn't always that much fun, but it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah, I know. I imagine that you got to, all the problems, got to go to your desk and that kind of thing. But that's not the customer's problem. The customer's always right. Tell us a little bit about Abacus Global Management overall.
Sure. Abacus Global Management, we founded over 20 years ago. We're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And what we do at its core, we're an alternative asset manager, but what we buy is maybe one of the best forms of credit out there, and that is we acquire life insurance policies. And we do that by creating liquidity for seniors or policyholders who currently have their life insurance that might have served its purpose or they're thinking about letting it go. And then we monetize that in today's value for them. And then ultimately we put those into large asset management funds, and we manage over $3 billion in assets under management. And it's been a terrific uncorrelated asset to be invested in.
You know, it sounds cool. It also sounds very reputable, right? Because sometimes insurance and you get these TV commercials and whatnot. You guys are legit on the New York Stock Exchange. The conversations we should be having with, say, our loved ones about financial planning and retirement. What would you recommend? What should we talk about that's not being talked about?
Here's what's not being talked about right now when it comes to financial planning. How long are you going to be in retirement? Right? Shouldn't that be the key component? Like, I went to a major firm who looks at even some of my own account, and ultimately they told me, they said, Jay, we're running this plan out to age 95. Now, I'm 6'5". You know, there's never been someone ever over 6'5" to live to age 95, by the way, in human history. And how is it on earth that that is the type of data that somebody would use? It's just kind of bad data out there. So I think the first question that if you have a loved one, you should be asking yourself is, let's address the number one fear out there, which is running out of money in retirement. And the best way to better understand that is how long you're going to be in retirement. Understand your lifespan, pull the medical files, get current underwriting. Those are the things that Abacus does that really separates us. Because how do you know how you should be allocating your money, Greg? Shouldn't you have a better understanding of how long you're going to allocate the money? And I think that's where financial planning is changing, these customized solutions.
So that's fascinating, by the way. If you're 6'5", you will not see the age of 95. I'm sorry, but you can enjoy the view from up until then. How do we, and this is a side note, by the way, why is it that people who live very, very old tend to be on the shorter side or the thinner side, short and thin?
Yeah, I mean, I short and lean, and the way I think about it is it's just a different engine, right? You know, it's the equivalent of a Cadillac Escalade versus, you know, a smaller, more efficient vehicle. And the smaller, more efficient vehicle is going to have a longer lifespan because you don't have as many things that can go wrong. For example, you know, when you think about how much distance traveled to just pump your blood through your heart, think about the extra wear and tear that puts on that body. And so, you know, it's taller and larger people aren't built to last as long as somebody who's a little more compact. And we've seen that happen over history. This is a crazy fact. Like, there hadn't been a centurion over 6 foot tall until really, you know, just in fact recently, where we saw that happen for the first time. And so, you know, like, we're all thinking about how we're going to live forever, but instead, shouldn't we be planning for what we're going to do while we're there?
It's so wild. My wife's cousin slash uncle is 105, and yeah, he's 5'6". He's very small. Yeah, right. He's a Holocaust survivor, by the way. So, all right. By the way, this data is fascinating. You have so much of it. You can pinpoint. You can make these estimates. What is your accuracy rate? Because, you know, I mean, how do you have a batting average?
Well, I mean, we do, and it's really high. But typically what happens is it becomes very predictable as you get older. It's less predictable when you're younger, right? When you're 50 and 60, you've got a billion probabilities. But the thing that we say to everybody is that your lifespan is not a straight line. It's an arc of probabilities, and you are in control of it. And you talked about that. You want to be the boss, right? Be the boss of your own life. Be the boss of the asset that matters the very, very most, right? Which is your lifespan. Time is the most valuable asset you have. Shouldn't you do everything you can to enhance it? And so when you look at what's accurate, you get to somebody in their late 70s, early 80s, that life arc becomes more predictable because they have certain impairments that are happening that you can predict and measure that against actual mortalities that have occurred. But man, you can make a difference before then if you better understand the value of time and the value of what that lifespan looks like, right? People struggle with investing for retirement, typically, Greg, because they don't know what they're buying. But if you place a real value on it and you could say, hey, look, like this is actually what this is going to look like for me and have that conversation, all of a sudden saving rates go up significantly higher.
So let's pretend I got a neighbor who happens to be 79 years old and you figure, and he's got, you know, like regular, did okay, maybe he's got a little pension, he's got life insurance for his, standard life insurance, and you guys figure out he's going to live to the age of 87. What should he do, and what can you do for him?
Sure. There's a couple things he has to keep in mind right away. Is that, first of all, he better understands what his life arc is. He's looking at approximately 8 to 10 years in remaining life. How should he be allocating his assets, right? So to ensure he doesn't run out of capital. But it probably means that he should also be dedicating some additional resources towards his healthcare, right? Because now you have a cleaner understanding of how long you're going to remain in retirement. You're probably going to spend more money. The fault is a lot of people underspend. They won't get that health care. They won't get that need that they have met because they're fearful that, oh my gosh, I won't have money, so I'm not going to do that expense. Medicare is not an expense. Taking care of yourself should not be seen as an expense. And I think that's one of the first things I would share with them is take this kind of purpose-driven approach to your financial planning, particularly as you get older. And you should do this for your parents. Tell your parents, guys, I don't need a lot of money left for me. Spend this on yourselves, whether that's vacation or medical treatment.
I hope they have a little bit of nest egg.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Great. If they don't have a nest egg, they're moving back in with you. You don't want that either.
No, I know. I think my parents, they're so generous and they're so they live very frugal lives, and I love them so much. I'm so blessed. When you have a client and you tell them, I mean, you get all their health information and you compare it to all the data that you have, and you have incredible data. What is their reaction when you tell them, hey, we think this is your life expectancy?
Gosh, that's a great question. And it's surprising, the answer. And this happens almost 100% of the time. The first thing they'll say to me, like in the example you said, 97 to 87, the response is always the same. No way am I living that long. No chance. You're overestimating, which is the exact opposite of what people might think they might say. And it's generally because they don't feel very good. Haven't been necessarily taking great care of themselves. They're on several medications. They're in pain. And there's a lesson to be learned in that, right? Like, if I can give you the most valuable thing there is in the world, and that's time, that latter decile of your life, that 80s, all of a sudden you're functioning, you're in less pain. What an amazing gift, right? And I think that's a big lesson to be learned from the whole takeaway of when you understand lifespan. We all think that, we're going to live forever. But when you get there, you're saying to yourself, gosh, I don't feel good about where I am today. And it's evidence, right? Like, there's a lot of evidence out there that supports that in general, our seniors in the United States are not very happy. It's the leading suicide rate by population are people over the age of 75.
I had no idea. Really? That's sad.
Yeah, it's absolute tragedy. And it's, a lot of it's caused by self-harm. When you think about elder abuse cases, most of the time it's self-harm. They're not taking care of their meds. And by the way, these people come from all walks of life. It could be your neighbor, right? It just could be somebody that is sitting there saying to themselves that, hey, look, like, I don't feel good. And you can make an impact on that, right? They need community, they need communication. But when you think about your lifespan and you apply this to yourself, answer this question. Is that how you want to view the world when you're 80? I hope not. I don't. And so start taking those things into account today.
It's that old phrase, new lease on life. I feel like that's what you're providing here in a way.
We are. We are.
Abacus is on the stock exchange. What is your symbol?
We trade under the ticker symbol A like Apple, B like boy, X X-ray, ABX.
ABX. That's very cool. And people can go to abacusgm.com. Abacus, like the abacus that the Japanese use as a calculator. Abacusgm.com. Jay Jackson, fascinating, important, useful. Final thoughts, sir.
You know what? We're all in control of our own destiny, regardless of your age. And what I would say is ask yourself this. What would your 80-year-old self ask you to do right now? Probably save more, right? Eat better, exercise. Those three things. Listen to your 80-year-old self, and you're going to have some amazing outcomes later in life.
I got to write this question down. That's an amazing thing. What would your 80-year-old self tell you to do right now? It's become very fashionable. What would you tell yourself? What would you tell your 22-year-old self? What advice would you, which is totally a useless exercise. But,
Right.
But to think about what your 80-year-old self would tell you to do right now, that is a beautiful, beautiful thing to consider. AbacusGM.com, AbacusGM.com. Jay Jackson, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. All the best, to be continued. How about that? What would my 80-year-old self tell me to do right now? I have a hunch he'd be proud of me. I have a hunch, especially now that I'm losing weight. I think, I hope it's just like an awesome, overwhelming thing to even contemplate. I love it. I love it. All right. When we come back, the blockade of Iranian ports. It's just a blockade of the Iranian ports, not of the Strait of Hormuz. And the Iranians are helpfully not taking nasty pot shots at our ships. Good thinking, and it looks like peace is at hand. We'll be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
So, can we listen to this somewhat goofy speech by this amazing woman, Christina Koch? Look, she went to outer space, around the moon, and now we're making fun of her speech. All right, number one, amazing accomplishment. I like her. She's from Jacksonville, North Carolina, all right? That's not exactly Greenwich, Connecticut, okay? It's hardcore down there. So here's a speech, though, that a lot of people find somewhat suspicious, okay? She's on stage with her fellow astronauts speaking to a great big group of people. This is after she got back from space just a couple of days ago, okay? Listen to this.
Necessarily just Earth. It was all the blackness around it. Earth was just this lifeboat hanging undisturbingly in the universe. So I may have not learned, I know I haven't learned everything that this journey has yet to teach me. But there's one new thing I know, and that is planet Earth, you are a crew. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Very odd, right? I mean, she had some sort of script in her head, apparently, but people are seizing on, well, what does that mean? The Earth is hanging, right? There are people out there, and they're making all kinds of videos. They show the launch. They show the launch of the rocket, and then it seems like these little capsule pods are like descending from the tower, as if like the astronauts are in some sort of escape pod, and they're not really in the rocket. Now, I don't believe that. I think they genuinely went to space. I think that these things on the internet get kicked around, but they never do any deeper work. Or the work they do is to validate their own hypothesis. There's a danger in that, right? You exclude information that will undermine your own hypothesis that they didn't go into outer space. I remember briefly questioning whether we went to the moon. And I was on some website and they were like, hey, did you notice this? And did you notice that? And I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird. And I did about, 90 seconds of research and I figured out why. Okay. No big deal. Keith, hello. Is he there?
Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, sure. Hi.
Sure. Love the show. I had an economics 101 kind of question about the price of gas or oil coming down after the conflict's over. If the conflict ends, but the oil from Iran is still restricted, China's got to buy that oil from somewhere, and they're going to pay market price. And that will drive market prices up. And I don't see any relief just from the end of the conflict if Iranian oil is still restricted.
Well,
it's supply and demand.
No, I mean, if the conflict is over, by that, we mean there's no more shooting and everything's back to normal. Iran can't develop a nuclear weapon, but they can go about their merry way, doing their business, right? Making and exporting oil. I mean, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're getting at. China will be able to, the prices will assume, I presume, pre-conflict levels, right?
I don't presume that, but I don't know that they're going to completely open up Iranian oil for their profit. And is that, Well,
we have not damaged any of their oil infrastructure. We have not laid a hand on it, right? Even Karg Island, which is their main oil refinery, distribution, whatever. It's their main oil hub. And we made a point. We announced to the world that we destroyed only the military targets on Karg Island, right? I imagine it's going to be sluggish at first, but oil will flow. We want that oil to flow when this conflict ends. Hey, do me a favor, pump up thank you very much. That's my sense of it, man. I am no expert, all right? I'm no expert, but that's my sense. Pump up the volume if you can on the FX because President Trump is approaching the mic. And wow, what a beautiful day it looks like in Washington, D.C. The reporters there with their mic. Yeah, go ahead, please. We need another 20 seconds. White House is always under construction, right? There's always, I'm looking at a big wheelbarrow behind him and a cooler, and it looks like a big bag of moss. Remember moss, Pete? You ever play with that stuff when you were a kid? Used for the garden? That's back where the Obamas had that jungle gym. Remember that? It looks like he's getting on a helicopter. Oh, I know why. He's going to Las Vegas to deliver a speech. Ready? Well, don't worry. There's a bit of a delay. So by the time we start, he'll start talking. Yeah, he's going out 4 p.m. speech in Las Vegas. That is the birthplace of no tax on tips. Remember the story? He was at a diner and a waitress said, what's on your mind, darling? He said, well, really, these taxes on the tips, it's killing me. What I really would like is no tax on tips. And he said, say that again, darling. No tax on tips. I think I can do that. Pump up.
Would you meet with the Pope to even out your differences with Catholic Church here?
I don't think it's necessary.
Mr. President, you spoke with Prime Minister Modi just a couple of days ago. What was the conversation like? What is it that is on the table now?
I had a very good talk with him, and he's a friend of mine from India, and he's doing great. We had a very good conversation.
Are you considering extending the ceasefire with Iran?
With who?
With Iran.
We're doing very well, I can tell you. Maybe it'll happen before that. I'm not sure it needs to be extended. Just so you know, Iran wants to make a deal, and we're dealing very nicely with them. We've got to have no nuclear weapons. If we do, that's a big factor. And they're willing to do things today that they weren't willing to do 2 months ago.
All right, no nuclear, no meeting with the Pope. That's not necessary. If we want to get each other's attention, we'll just send a message on Twitter, okay?
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?